A beautiful painting showcased by the guest belonged to her great-great-great-grandfather. The artist, George Cope, was a fishing buddy of the guest's ancestor and gave him 3 paintings. The appraiser identified the painting as a wonderful oil on canvas by Cope, who was born in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Cope's work encompassed landscapes and still lifes, and he was initially popular among Philadelphia collectors. However, his work fell out of favor as modern art became more prominent at the turn of the century. The appraiser explained that this decline made the particular piece less popular. Despite this, the painting's current market value was estimated to be...
But in the current market at auction, you could realistically expect this to fetch between $4,000 and $6,000.
Okay.
A piece that powerfully expresses the American arts and crafts movement was presented. This is a cabinet made in 1902 by Gustav Stickley. He was considered the father of American arts and crafts.
This cabinet was made by Gustav Stickley in 1902, and he was considered the father of American arts and crafts.
Aside from the fact that this is high-end cabinetry with perfectly set windows, its joints are exposed, showing it is handmade.
Having objects around you that had integrity, to encourage integrity within yourself as well.
At the back of this cabinet, chamfered pieces of quartered oak are biscuited together.
These are mitered mullions. It's a lot of work to do that. But aside from the fact that you're seeing high-end cabinetry perfectly setting these windows in place.
Similarly, on the side, a horizontal stretcher ending in a blind tenon inside the leg and locked with a pin is seen.
Most bookcases would have been made with a simple piece of plywood sealing the back.
This great piece also features raw virgin Adirondack oak exposed to ammonia fumes, creating a rich fumed finish. For a piece that expresses the beauty of the American arts and crafts movement, made out of basic American wood with perfectly set windows, it will have an auction estimate of...
This fabulous case, if you could find one, would have sold at the height of the market at auction for about $400,000. And I would think if one were to come to auction today, it would still bring that kind of money.
This item looks like the stuff of horror, but it is actually a harmless doll. The doll is called a Brou doll and is of French origin. It was created in 1880, a time when dolls were in high demand by both the poor and the rich. The doll is also called a dot Brou doll, and this is thanks to a minute detail on it.
This doll was made by Leo Casimir Brou in 1880.
This doll is an award-winning doll, and it's worth a lot to antique doll collectors. The eyes of the doll are quite distinct, and many consider it a luxury item.
What's really wonderful about your doll is she has glass paperweight eyes. If you look at them, they curve out.
The doll is designed to closely resemble a human. At an auction, because it's an award-winning doll, it would retail at...
She would retail for around $12,000 to $14,000.
Wow, that's a little bit more than I thought she was worth, so yeah, that's nice to know.
This document, a family heirloom, has been passed down through generations. It's James Iredell's appointment to the first Supreme Court. James Iredell was one of the first justices of the Supreme Court of the United States appointed by President George Washington. The guest is a direct descendant of Judge Iredell, adding personal significance to this piece. On the back of the piece is a note indicating who administered the oath.
What you referred to, and I'll show you, it's a docket, we call that, or it's a memoranda is put on the back sometimes.
The authenticity of this document can be confirmed by typical features of George Washington's signature. This document stands out because Washington appointed the entire First Supreme Court. Its historical significance makes it much more valuable than usual presidential documents. For insurance purposes, this historical document's value is estimated at...
An auction estimate would be something like $40,000 to $60,000 comfortably at auction. Now, you'd want to be fully insured on that, so you're going to be talking about $80,000 to $90,000 would be like an insurance value.
Okay.
This piece is titled 14th Street at 6th Avenue, painted by American painter and etcher John French Sloan. It was created as a part of the WPA Federal Arts Project, a New Deal program to fund the visual arts in the United States between 1935 and 1943. Sloan is considered one of the founders of the Ashcan School of American Art and a member of the group known as the Eight. Best known for capturing the essence of neighborhood life in New York City, This painting is a typical example showcasing his brilliant attention to detail. Collected and preserved by the U.S. General Services, this painting has an estimated value of...
The value of a painting like this, if one were to be found, would be in the range of $750,000.
A look at this would make you think it was crafted by a renowned artist, but in reality, it was done by a farmer in 1870. This folk art horse and rider is a timeless piece for the folk art community. The rider was carved to represent the U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant. There are many signs on the carved piece which suggest it was Grant that was crafted.
When you look at his face, you see that great beard. It sure looks like it could be Ulysses S. Grant. I would guess that if it's Grant, it would have been carved in either 68 or 72 when he was running for president.
The hair on the figure is made from real human hair, and the whole piece is made from solid wood. The carving is exceptional and exemplifies the beauty of American folk art. At an auction, this horse and rider figure would retail at the price of...
A fair auction estimate for this would be somewhere between $40,000 to $60,000.
Wow.
We have a remarkable artifact before us today, a majestic pipe tomahawk. Our guest got an amazing deal buying this rare piece for a fraction of its value. This extraordinary piece is a testament to the rich history of Native American diplomacy and craftsmanship.
I think as a tomahawk, the handle's a little weak to use as a tomahawk, but the Plains Indians and tribes all throughout the southern U.S. carried these as signs of authority.
With its beauty, rarity, and outstanding condition, this impressive piece would realize an auction value of...
They go for between $8,000 and $12,000 in an auction situation.
The guest presented a couple of fine bottles of wine. The shape of these bottles is capsule-shaped, typical of Bordeaux.
If you think of Burgundy wines, they have more of a tapering neck. That's a different type of grape, Pinot Noir. But Bordeaux's, Cabernet and Merlot is a primary grape of Bordeaux.
Both bottles of wine are from the best estates in Bordeaux and are called first growths.
Out of all the wines in Bordeaux, 5 are selected to be first growths, and you've got 2 of the 5 first growth wines.
One is a 59 Lafite in mint condition, and the other a 28 Mouton Rothschild, both in perfect condition. The storage process seems mysterious because there's no leakage through the capsule, and the fill level used to determine its condition is at a higher shoulder fill level.
This one being a 1928, I'm not sure if the wine in that. Did you drink any of the 3 you brought over? Time to crack one. You got a perfectly good excuse for it.
At auction, these fabulous wine bottles filled with super wines will go for...
If it's still in good condition, I'm probably still looking at about $1,500 to $2,000 for that bottle of wine. These are really super wines. So thank you very much.
These Child's Cowboy spurs and chaps are a unique and sentimental family artifact. The guest's uncle wore these items at around 3 years old, documented in an accompanying photograph. The spurs are adorned with Mexican centavos coins and detailed engravings indicating their high quality and craftsmanship.
These are shotgun chaps, they're called, and they're real typical of the trail drive era. Then the styles changed to those big batwing chaps that you probably grew up with and that I'd seen. But
contrary to the initial belief that the spurs were made in Mexico, they were actually crafted by the renowned spur maker Joe Bianchi in Victoria, Texas. Bianchi's spurs were highly coveted by cowboys and ranchers, including some of the most notable figures in South Texas.
it's all the hallmarks of an Italian spur maker in Victoria, Texas named Joe Bianchi.
The chaps, referred to as shotgun chaps, are a narrow style typical of the trail drive era. The photograph of the guest uncle wearing the spurs provides excellent documentation and adds to the item's historical value. Highlighting the desirability of child's gear from that era, the set's total value is estimated at...
So we're talking $2,400, $3,000. It's great stuff, and child's gear is particularly desirable right now.
This rare Gibson tenor banjo, a cherished item, dates back to 1927.
It's a very interesting model. It's a Florentine model. Gibson, during the big band era of the 1920s and 30s, made...
Remarkably, this banjo is a custom Florentine model, renowned for its loud, resonant sound.
Lots of these very loud master tone model banjos, and not only very loud, but in some cases very fancy, like this one.
It features unique hearts and flowers inlays and a distinctive checkerboard pattern, characteristics typically found in Style 6 master tones. The instrument is lavishly carved with a royal motif. Unusually, it has an ebony fingerboard and a pearloid peghead overlay, which, unlike most, lacks rhinestones. An interesting historical quirk is the light bulb used to heat and tighten the original skin head before performances. This banjo stands as a remarkable and valuable piece of musical history, with its current valuation estimated at...
This should have a retail value, $8,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, that's amazing, really.
Are you going to play it?
You bet. Well, I can, like I said, I can make it make noise, but I can't.
We set our sights on this amazing collection consisting of a fight ticket, a photo, and an autographed napkin from the great American professional boxer and activist Muhammad Ali. Nicknamed the Greatest, he is regarded as one of the most significant figures of the 20th century and the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, with a record of 56 wins and 5 losses. The guest acquired the collection during an outing with the icon in 1962.
How did you meet him? I met him because Howard Bingham, a photographer from the local black newspaper, was always taking us places. You want to go see this, want to see that.
Signed Cassius Clay, this autograph is one of the rarest, as he only signed in this manner from 1960 to 1964.
What do you remember about this photo when he said he wanted to take it? Howard was taking pictures all the time. Okay. Wherever Cassius was, Howard was there. And he, at that time, we didn't know he was going to be his lifetime photographer.
This collection is of great significance to the iconic boxing champion, and at auction will be valued at...
I would put an auction estimate for $3,000 to $5,000. You know, that's amazing. I never thought of a value. I just wanted people to know that I was there with him.
This piece was purchased by the guest at an auction.
Well, what did you pay for the vampire?
Paid $65 for it.
$65. And what did you think about it when you bought it?
To me, she just looked like a very demure nude. I just thought she was pretty.
Titled Kaloma, it was extracted from the front cover of a book titled I Married Wyatt Earp, written by Josephine Marcus Earp. The picture has been misattributed as a young portrait of the wife of the famous gunfighter Wyatt Earp, which is false, as the copyright on the image suggests otherwise.
Most people have assumed for the past 15 years that this is actually a picture of Josie Earp. Okay. Wyatt Earp's, the famous gunfighters.
Many appraisers have mistakenly sold this picture as Josie Earp when, in fact, it is not. Nonetheless, it is a great picture, and considering the facts, this picture would sell for...
It's a great picture. In my book, it's about a $150 photograph, so you still did all right.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it in. It's a great story.
Hang her right back on the wall.
One garage sale purchase, and our guest would have parted with his masterpiece.
The painting is by an American artist who's really a Southern painter from Charleston, William Aiken Walker.
She acquired it from her mother-in-law, who, in turn, purchased it at a farm auction.
Starting in Charleston, he traveled throughout the South. He traveled through New Orleans. He actually lived for a time in Baltimore and spent some time overseas in Germany.
Renowned American artist William Aiken Walker is the creator and signatory of this oil painting. Walker was known for his genre paintings of African-American sharecroppers, a subject that resonated deeply with him. Additionally, he served his country as a Confederate soldier during the American Civil War. This painting, executed on the artist's board, dates back to the 1890s and portrays a subject typical of Walker's oeuvre. Despite its current state, with proper refurbishment, the original colors and effects of the painting will be restored, putting its price at...
I think this is probably a painting at auction that would sell for between $7,000 and $10,000. But it's a terrific thing to find. You're very lucky.
Oh, yes.
Before us stands a clock of breathtaking beauty and craftsmanship. It is indeed a true masterpiece of timekeeping beauty. Our guest inherited this stunning clock from his friend. This remarkable clock was made in France by the renowned Tiffany & Company.
I've never found any information on what it's all about.
Okay, well, it is most definitely French. The movement is marked made in France, in English.
The clock rests on a pedestal lavishly encased in white onyx, amplifying its aesthetic appeal. A closer look reveals ornate champlevé decorations, showcasing intricate patterns and designs that dance across the clock's surface in a vibrant display of color and craftsmanship. This magnificent clock is anticipated to have an auction estimate of...
In a retail setting, a clock like this would sell for anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 in today's market.
Unveiled to us today is a gorgeous metal lamp. This beautiful vintage piece dates back to the 1870s. It was masterfully crafted by the prestigious design firm Christoffel. Our guest inherited this piece from his great-grandfather. The lamp's fascinating blend of Japanese and Victorian styles is highlighted by the delightful mural of a cat and mouse showcasing the artisan's skill and creativity. This stunning piece is in great condition and would fetch an auction value of...
The mouse, which to me is one of the most wonderful parts about it. A retail price could easily be $15,000.
The guest brought the folk art painting Mother had received from a woman in Louisville, Kentucky. The painting was exciting and was created on a wood panel. It depicted a 3/4 length child with a wonderfully lacy bonnet and a cat with distinctive eyes. It featured the humorous proportions of the child's arm and head. The painting required conservation and reframing, with layers of varnish obscuring its original state. The painting was dated to the 1830s, making it an early and valuable example of folk art. If the child in the painting had been depicted as more attractive, its value would have increased. In its current state, this exciting folk art painting was estimated to be...
I would say in today's market, it's probably in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. And if she were a very attractive child, she'd probably be worth $60,000.
The guest had purchased 2 jugs at a yard sale 30 to 35 years ago for around $20 each. The guest neither got the jugs appraised, nor did he know their age. The jugs were identified as factory-made stoneware pottery. The straight sides and brown and tan colors indicated they were likely from the late 19th or early 20th century. The jugs were used to buy whiskey in bourbon country with the option to purchase from a bar or drugstore. One jug was particularly special, coming from a saloon and bearing the phrase, "Nothing new but the jug," indicating it held aged Kentucky bourbon. This jug from the saloon was likely more valuable of the two due to its unique phrase. These jugs holding a fascinating history within them were estimated at...
Jugs like this are selling online anywhere from $200 to $300 each.
Oh, yeah.
The guest, a collector of local pottery, had purchased 2 bowls from a lady. The lady had received them from her godparents, who bought them in the 1950s. The guest paid $600 for each bowl, which was more than he had ever spent on pottery before. The bowls were identified as being made by Edwin and Mary Shire, a husband and wife team who worked in various media. The Shires were influenced by their time in New Hampshire, Oaxaca, Mexico, and Arizona, and their pottery reflected these cultural influences. These specific bowls were from their early works, likely from the 1940s or early 1950s. One bowl had a beautiful ring and was in excellent condition, while the other had a crack and was not in as good condition. Due to being the early pieces, these bowls were very collectible, and they were estimated at...
Something like this with the crack would easily be at auction $2,500 to $3,500 and more.
Wow. The guest brought a photograph that he inherited from his uncle. It was titled "Woman in a Rooming House Parlor" by Diane Arbus, taken in 1963. Diane Arbus was a renowned photographer known for capturing unique subjects and struggles. Arbus was a prominent photographer of the 20th century, with major shows at the Metropolitan Museum and San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The photograph had a stamp on the back with the title, location, and date, as well as a signature from Arbus's daughter, Dune Arbus, who was the executor of her estate. The print was made by Neil Selkirk after Arbus's death in 1971. Diane Arbus passed away in 1971 at the age of 48. As the art world's fervor for Diane Arbus's work simmers, the appraiser estimates the print's value at...
The price of this at auction would be estimated at between $15,000 and $20,000. A few years ago, the price would have been much higher. During the period of her exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art,
guest brought a bag containing tintypes she discovered while cleaning her mother's house in Jamestown 8 years ago. The bag was identified to be from a prairie tribe, likely Potawatomi tribe. The beading style on the bag was very unusual and rare. The tintypes, photographs on tin, were also rare and valuable, depicting Sioux individuals in traditional clothing. The tintype were dated to the late 1870s to late 1880s, a period before the tribes dispersed. The photographs showed pride and resilience, capturing a moment in history before the Native American Wars and the decline of the buffalo population. The tintypes could potentially depict individuals who fought in the Battle of Little Bighorn. With a fascinating historic significance, these items were estimated at
very specific looking people. There's nothing vague about the people in these pictures. I'm going to say about 5,000 to 7,000 for the group. With research, they will make more.
We have received a truly interesting letter on the show today. The guest's great-grandmother was uncertain about the existence of Santa Claus. Her father made her believe that if she saw it in the New York Sun newspaper, then Santa Claus must be real. So, the letter on display was written by the guest's great-grandmother to the Sun newspaper in 1897.
Here we have the original letter when she was 8 years old, when she did write to the editor, "Dear editor, was there a Santa Claus?"
Fortunately, she received a response from the Sun newspaper's editor, Francis P. Church. Church was an American editor and publisher. His response coined the phrase, "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus." This letter is an important piece of history and childhood curiosity, estimated to be worth.
We really feel that something like this would be worth between $20,000 and $30,000.
That's impressive.
Displayed on the show by a guest is an oriental pearl necklace adorned with not just ordinary pearls, but natural ones. This piece dates back to circa 1875, and such natural pearls are typically found inside the shells of mollusks such as oysters, making them a rarity in the jewelry world. One of the captivating features of these pearls is their exquisite luster and iridescence. Natural pearl necklaces carry rich cultural significance, and this item is estimated to be worth
today at auction $5,000 to $7,000.
Our sights are set on this exquisite pocket globe, originating from London and manufactured by the Lane's Improved Globe Company. Founded in 1775 by English entrepreneur Nicholas Lane, this globe dates back to the 18th century, the age of exploration, as shown in the detailing of the world map on the globe.
If you have a look at some of the detailed names down here, let's go down to Australia, always a good place to start.
The case is made of fish skin painted black, giving it a sturdy surface, and inside the case is a map of the heavens.
And inside we have the map of the heavens, with the various stars and signs of the zodiac charted.
Although the globe shows some denting, in its current condition, it would have an estimated value of...
We'd be talking about between £2,000 and £3,000. That's an auction price, so insurance would be quite a little bit higher than that.
Purchased by the guest from the grandson of Dorothy Fitz.
You've brought these great letters from Dorothy Fitz. Was she related to you?
This is a collection of correspondences, photographs, and a signed baseball from Miller James Huggins. Huggins was an American professional baseball player and manager, popularly known as Mighty Might for his defensive prowess. He was elected into the National Baseball Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee in 1964. The baseball in the collection bears the signatures of iconic baseball players like George Herman Babe Ruth and Henry Louis Gehrig Jr., placing immense value on the baseball, which is estimated at...
If I were going to put a value on the baseball, auction value, I would put on somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000.
Additionally, there is a handwritten letter from Huggins to Dorothy Fitz.
The Yankees and how she gave him a 4-leaf clover that he could put in his hat. He was going to take it out when the season was over.
This is such an important collection for baseball collectors and fans, and if put out at auction, it would sell for...
These letters I'd put in about $6,000 to $8,000.
That's amazing.
This is such an unconventional plaque bought by the guest at an auction in New York.
I always liked quarter sawn oak.
I thought it was American and thought it would be perfect for a bathroom.
The piece is sculpted beautifully by a folk artist named Warren Bear.
It is a plaque, and we just have to just guess that he was in the plumbing business, because everything from the 1903 to this ST, which I have not figured out,
Was likely involved in the plumbing business, as suggested by the depictions on the plaque. Made from quarter-sawn oak, it bears photographs of 4 men related to the maker and dates back to the early 20th century. The precision in the carvings and the sentiment in the presentation make this plaque unique, with its value estimated at...
Now easily at auction, because of the cross appeal, because it's a great piece of folk art, this piece would be worth easily $4,000 to $6,000.
That's hard to believe.
Known for its colorful and fanciful charm, these Continental Majolica plates were designed to be fit for purpose.
Majolica is a generic term relating to tin-glazed ceramic.
Likely French or German, these plates date back to the late 19th century or early 20th century, and they feature a lovely Art Nouveau style. These pieces' intricate, glossy designs and rich colors add to their intrigue. The craftsmanship reflects the European pottery traditions of the time, which combines functionality with artistic elegance. Majolica plates from this period are highly collectible and would auction for...
I think they're worth retail between $100 and $150 a piece, so maybe $200 to $300 for the two of them.
Well, fine. I'm very pleased.
Unique for its opacity and matte finish, this vibrant piece, painted with opaque water-based gouache, features Pedro, the mail-carrying plane from the 1942 film Saludos Amigos, soaring over an aircraft carrier.
Took it home, and this is probably in 1980, give or take. My wife and I have tried to figure out what it is, who it is. I don't have any paperwork. I'm sure they gave it to me.
Quite interesting, this paint is part of a series of 12 created by Disney artists to support the World War II effort, showcasing Disney's contribution through artistic propaganda.
This is interesting because it's got a lot of iconography going on. We have an aircraft carrier, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have this animated character flying off, and then we have this wonderful airplane silhouette.
Additionally, this gouache painting is an original artwork which adds to its intrigue. Today, this rare and historically significant piece would fetch a value of...
We're looking at auction conservatively $5,000 to $7,000.
Okay.
A stunning creation from the 20th century in the form of a monumental vase was showcased on the show, standing at an impressive 33 inches tall. This vase was crafted in vibrant hues of orange and yellow with a striking blue base. It's a testament to the artistry of the Schneider brothers, who began their journey in the famed Daum factory.
There's a little bit of what we refer to as a Clothra look to this. It's a style.
This vase was made around 1930 in a plain deco style.
On the top, a very, very minor chip. It's not even a chip.
Yes.
Some people call it a flea bite. It's so tiny. It can be buffed. There are people, professionals, that can do that and buff that down to smooth it off.
And it features a unique Clothra-like pattern, adding to its mystique and allure. Given its enduring beauty and craftsmanship, this vase at auction would retail for...
I would put this in a value range for insurance of $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow, that's terrific.
This is a rather unconventional structure for an oil lamp, purchased by the guest at an auction for $1,100.
What did you pay for it?
I paid $1,100 for it.
Okay.
And at the auction where I bought it, my wife was sitting next to me.
The lamp was crafted by the American furniture designer Charles P. Limbert, one of the most successful leaders in the arts and crafts movement in America. Made from oak wood, it is a classic prairie-style slide glass lamp dating back to 1905. Bearing the hallmark of the artist on a paper label on the bottom.
He actually had a furniture factory in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then later in Holland, Michigan.
Okay.
So in 1906, he started the firm in Holland, Michigan. It is a classic prairie-style slide glass lamp.
It features a magnificent finish that showcases Limbert's brilliance. An oil lamp from a distinguished arts and crafts leader in America is evaluated at...
So if it was listed in an auction today,
okay,
we would think that you would see it somewhere between a $2,500 and a $3,500 estimate.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I do think it could quite possibly sell for significantly more than that.
Guest snagged 7 beauties online in a poster lot for just $357. That's about $51 each. What a steal! Look at these amazing American Art Deco shipping posters. One promotes New York, the other California, a journey across America. This New York poster features a stylish skyline, a collector's dream. The United States lines posters are highly sought after. Guest figured it was worth $150 to $200, but the appraiser said it's way more valuable.
In this shape, again, I'd say probably $1,000 to $1,500.
The second poster is also Art Deco perfection and signed by a mystery artist. It appeals to both ocean liner enthusiasts and California memorabilia collectors. Even in its current state, it's worth...
There's no paper missing. It can be fixed fairly easily, probably at the cost again of $100 to $150. Okay.
Restoration could significantly increase the value of both posters. This guest discovered this photograph in the attic of his house.
What you have is a photograph by Carlton Watkins, one of the most important American photographers of the 19th century.
The photograph was taken by the American photographer Carlton Watkins, renowned for his 19th century landscape photography, with the Yosemite Valley being a favorite subject. The caption on this photograph indicates that it is of Golden Gate Harbor in San Francisco Bay. This large photograph showcases exquisite detail and was produced using the albumen print process, very common for 19th century prints. Though the picture has been clipped or trimmed to fit into a frame, and there are some tears on the print itself, this photograph of the San Francisco area is rare compared to Watkins' more common Yosemite Valley photographs, putting its value at...
I would say a conservative estimate at auction would be $4,000 to $6,000. So thank you very much for bringing it in.
The guest discovered this clock hidden in a cardboard box in a crawl space of a house purchased by her husband's parents. Initially in poor condition, the clock underwent restoration, revealing its true value. The appraiser identified it as a clock crafted by the Ansonia Brass and Copper Company, cataloged around 1874 as the Roman, a rare find with distinctive features. Despite some missing elements, like the calendar hand, the clock's rosewood finish and intricate design impressed the appraiser. The guest expressed hope that its worth exceeded the repair costs, which were around $100. Eliciting a delighted response from the guest, the appraiser estimated its current value to be approximately...
Well, I think that in today's economy, you would expect to see this clock in a retail outlet somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,000.
All right.
Treasure hunt time. Guest found this beauty at an antique store in Georgetown. Love at first sight, but at $250, it was a bit out of her budget at the time.
How much did you want for it?
$250.
All right.
And I asked her, would she consider letting me put it on layaway? I paid $125 down and $125 a month later.
The mark on the bottom is Rosenthal, a famous German porcelain company. Back then, Rosenthal was known for beautiful, artistic pottery centerpieces just like this one, perfect for displaying flowers. There's another mark. It's faint, but definitely there. This signature belongs to the sculptor Ferdinand Liebermann. He was a renowned artist who worked with Rosenthal for decades. Based on the style and glaze, this piece is from the 1920s. Look at the unique muted glaze. So beautiful. Fun fact, it's actually 2 pieces. Here's the mark. This depicts a fawn and a goose, a rare find. In a good antique shop, this could easily fetch...
I think today in a good antique shop, it's a $2,000 item. The quality is beautiful and the condition is excellent.
Thank you.
The guest received this vase from her paternal grandfather's side of the family, recalling it as an old, ugly vase from Mississippi. The appraiser identified the vase as Japanese, dating back to the early 20th century, belonging to a rare type known as coralline. Coralline is a raised decoration of glass beading on glassware for decorative purposes. It featured intricately hand-painted flowers with glass bead accents. The appraiser lauded the seemingly ordinary, ugly vase as a remarkable piece. Noting the U.S. Patent Office mark for importation, The appraiser estimated its value between...
Value is probably in the $800 to $1,000 range.
The guest discovered this toaster at an antique show, was drawn to it, and impressed by its uniqueness and functionality, she decided to purchase it. Upon examination, the appraiser admired its well-preserved state and identified it as a creation of the Toastrite Company, originating from Cleveland, Ohio, in the late 1920s. Remarkably, the toaster still retained its original cord, which operated perfectly, adding to its appeal. The porcelain and pottery decoration displayed on the toaster boasted a pattern considered among the finest in the last 2 centuries. This intricate design was derived from English artisans who adapted various motifs from imported Chinese porcelain, reaching the height of popularity in the late 18th century. Recognized as a coveted item by toaster enthusiasts, the appraiser deemed it a remarkable find, estimating its value to be...
I feel that it's certainly worth over $1,000, and perhaps as much as $2,000.
Imagine a magical night lit by a beautiful lantern. This lantern, over 100 years old, belonged to the guest's medical missionary ancestor in China. It's a family heirloom, passed down through generations. Every facet tells a story. See the honeycomb pattern, a symbol of good fortune. Here's a scene of maidens under the moon, so romantic. The overlapping coins and cash represent wealth, a beautiful wish for us all.
There is a sort of ongoing, as that candle flickers and burns and casts those shadows on the inside of the room.
Sadly, this lantern doesn't have its pair, a lost treasure.
Lovely thing, beautifully painted, exquisite detail of flowers repeated on the foot.
These lanterns, once inexpensive, are now worth a fortune to collectors worldwide. This unique piece blends European and Chinese artistry. Replacing it would cost a staggering...
somewhere between £10,000 and £15,000. Strike a light.
A vase so fine from days gone by, its timeless beauty will never die. The vases belong to the current owner's great-grandmother. They are part of a Vieux Paris or Old Paris porcelain collection. These vases have always been displayed on the master bedroom dresser. Dating back to the 1850s to 1860s, these tulip-shaped vases were bought in New Orleans by his great-grandfather. They reflect a 19th century trend popular in France and England. Unusually, the pair is in different colors, and while not as finely made as English counterparts, they are well painted. Marked with a J and a P in blue, they were made by the renowned Jacob Petit. Despite a large crack on one vase's bottom, a manufacturing flaw, their value remains unaffected. The hope is that they will remain on the same dresser for many more years. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
"This pair would probably sell in a retail situation between $1,500 and $2,500. They have a really nice value."
Well, I hope that they can remain on the same dresser for many, many, many years.
This beautiful jade brush washer belonged to the guest's grandmother, an Asian art collector. Legend has it it was gifted to General MacArthur by Chiang Kai-shek.
And what it is, functionally, is a Chinese brush washer.
Really?
And the water would sit inside that lotus leaf, and you could rinse out your brush.
It's a Chinese brush washer, a scholar's tool that doubles as art.
Is that it is what we call celadon nephrite jade. This piece was probably produced in mid to late 19th century.
This large piece is made from celadon nephrite jade, likely 19th century. The lotus design symbolizes purity, rising from muddy waters to bloom. The stand, made of prized zeton wood, elevates the brush washer. Interestingly, someone added a date falsely claiming it's older, but in today's market, it adds a unique twist. At auction, it could fetch...
I would say this piece would bring about $5,000 to $7,000 to the auction.
Great.
Today, we present a shimmering and exquisite glass-cut centerpiece. The piece was acquired by our guest father at an antique shop in Chicago.
We've had it ever since I was about 7 or 8, and we called it a baptismal for lack of anything else to call it.
This glassware is from the American Brilliant period, dating back to the 1880s. Surprisingly, the glass edges feature teeth in terrific condition. On the inside of the item, we can discern the T.G. Hawes Glass Company mark.
Inside, we have a Hawks mark for T.G. Hawks Glass Company, and they used Corning blanks and cut their glass from Corning blanks.
Zipper patterns adorn the sides of the glassware. Turning the piece upside down reveals that it serves as a base for a punch bowl. Given its pristine condition and provenance, the item is estimated to be worth...
Now, if you can get on a search and find the bowl that went with it, it would be $4,000 to $5,000. Not easy to find.
Right.
The guest's quirky collector aunt left behind a treasure trove. Though others dismissed it as junk, she saw potential in a sewing machine. Her house caught fire and she saved the machine. Within its drawer, this ring emerged.
And we had a house fire, and the sewing machine had to be cleaned. And I took the bag out, and when I emptied the bag, the ring was in there.
Okay.
It was crafted around 1910, a true vintage gem. Made of platinum, it boasted 3 sparkling diamonds. The center stone, a generous 2.5 carats, was the star of the show. 2 side stones, each around 1 carat, flanked the center in perfect harmony. Graded SI2 to SI1, these diamonds hinted at some inclusions. Interestingly, the right side stone held a touch more clarity. Their color, rated GH on the GIA scale, they leaned towards a stunning white. Diamonds have been on the rise, and the history and craftsmanship of this ring make it a collector's dream. At auction estimate, it could fetch...
I'd say an auction estimate would be conservatively set at $30,000 to $50,000. Wow, who knew? Laying in the bottom of the bag.
Exhibited on the show is a golden bracelet, and it was presented by a guest. The bracelet was crafted by Dakota Black Hill Indians. Surprisingly, it was made from gold nuggets, with multicolored gold designs adorning the piece. This bracelet was meticulously handcrafted by skilled artisans. Worthy to note that the bracelet is in a mint condition. We are left to wonder how much this handcrafted bracelet would fetch at auction.
And they're still making it today, and it happens to be in mint condition.
We have here a small baby chair and cupboard with blends of local and indigenous influence. The guest inherited this colonial chair and trastero from her father.
In the early 20th century, the WPA movement was copying what we call the Spanish colonial movement. And what makes your pieces so wonderful is that they're actually 19th century.
Spanish settlers in New Mexico made these items in the 19th century. Trastero, which means cupboard in Spanish, was common in New Mexico.
Probably dates from about 1840 to 1880.
Oh.
And we can tell that based on some of the construction characteristics.
The chair has minimal ornamentations, focusing on functionality. Looking closely, there are evident condition issues on both items, considering their age and the soft ponderosa pine wood used in making them. Their rarity sets these items apart and adds to their value. Reflecting on its rarity over condition, this culturally expressive chair should sell for...
At auction, we conservatively say $1,200 to $1,800.
Okay.
At auction, this rare and robustly constructed cupboard would fetch...
I think conservatively at auction, we'd say $3,000 to $5,000 on the Trastero. And I'm so thrilled you brought it.
Thank you.
We turn our gaze to this unique piece of pottery. Inherited by the guest from her mother.
My mother enjoyed antiquing, and she picked it up probably somewhere in Atlanta.
This piece was made by the Rookwood Pottery, an American ceramics company founded in 1880 by Maria Longworth Nichols Storer. It features a silver overlay on a standard gaze.
The brown glaze, or standard glaze, which was imitated by many other potteries in this country, is not really much in favor these days.
Although of Victorian origin, the wear on the silver glaze adds to its rarity.
The silver was added on afterwards by the Gorham Company.
The glaze bears the whimsical design typical of the American artist and Rookwood pottery decorator Harriet Elizabeth Wilcox. Authenticated by hallmarks of the pottery and the artist, the value of this piece is estimated at...
And in a gallery I would definitely give it a price of $4,000 to $5,000 retail.
Wow, really? That's fun.
Before us is a painting of a performer evoking wonder and contemplation. The guest bought this painting at an auction.
And it's that gorgeous orange that she uses in her pictures that caught my eye.
The painting with its intricate details was made by Dame Laura Knight, a famous painter who paved the way for female artists in the male-dominated British art world. The painting captures the performer's intensity and swirling motion, vibrant pattern common in Laura Knight's expressive brushworks. Looking closely, we see the vibrant color combinations and the excellent condition of the painting, placing this enigmatic work by a famous painter at a high auction value of
£4,000.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Two items are presented today, a vintage New York Yankees team sweater and cleats once owned by Wally Pipp. Pipp played first base for the Yankees for 11 years in the MLB. This sweater, dating back to the 1921-22 era, was given to team members and has been preserved within the guest family.
The team handed out team sweaters. Apparently during the day it was very common for clubs to have these. They did a lot of traveling. I think they were traveling by train. There's pictures online of Babe Ruth wearing the same sweater.
The second item, Pipp's game-worn spikes, also adds so much to the collection's value. Just like early baseball cleats, this one too was made of leather with metal spikes. The sweater, one of only 3 known to exist, is estimated to be worth
$75,000.
Wow. Wow.
The spikes, despite their worn condition, hold an insurance value of...
I'd put a value on those for insurance purposes at $2,500.
The history and rarity of these items significantly enhance their worth and historical significance. The guest brought in 2 original New Yorker covers by William Steig for appraisal. William Steig was known to have created Shrek later in his career in 1990. He specialized in writing children's books and was a successful cartoonist and writer. This piece dates back to 1956, one of his earlier works characterized by street-smart kids looking at young ladies. Moreover, this second piece is by Mary Petty, made in 1942. It features a maidservant with her gas mask on, even though it looks like a bug. Due to its area of discipline, all original artwork, such as the New Yorker cover, is valued at $2,000 to $3,000. However, a William Steig New Yorker cover, because he is well known, is sold for $3,000 to $5,000. But Mary Petty is not well known and would be at the top end of...
I'm going to go with $2,000 to $3,000, but I think it would certainly be the top end of that.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I'm really happy. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Windows are more than just portals to the outside world. They can hold stories of history and honor. The stained glass window brought in by the guest is a special item. It dates back to the Civil War era. It's connected to the Grand Army of the Republic. This was a group for Union soldiers formed in Illinois in 1866. The window is beautifully made with an eagle and colorful flags as its main features. The top half of the window is especially eye-catching, showing incredible attention to detail. It also pays tribute to fallen heroes and the local Legion post in Sterling, Nebraska. This stained glass window is unique and valuable because of its history, intricate design, and connection to the Grand Army of the Republic. While examining the condition of the stained glass window, the appraiser said,
I would say for, full retail, which would be an insurance value, for this part, the top half of the 2-piece sash window would be $5,000.
The guest brought his grandfather's flight jacket that had been passed down to the family for appraisal. On the back of the jacket, there's an artwork that should carry the name of the aircraft, but it is not so. The aircraft painted on the jacket is a B-17 because of the red markings on the wings and the leading edge to the vertical stabilizer. Another feature of the artwork that grabs attention is stabbing a dagger right into the heart of that swastika representing the Third Reich. Moving to the front, it shows it is an A2 jacket made by Star Sportswear, contracted in May of 1942. Prominent on the sleeve is the insignia of the 8th Air Force and the insignia of the 391st Bomb Squadron, which was part of the 34th Bomb Group. In the interior, the stitching of the insignia is seen, but is likely from a different squadron. The responsibilities of the 34th Bomb Group required tremendous skills, as in World War II, their job was to keep bombers in formation to ensure the protection of the aircraft. This jacket is well worn, as it should be, and has an estimated retail value as...
Retail value for this today would be right around that $5,000 to $6,000 range.
That's great. That's amazing.
We don't often see paintings of barns like this one, but that's what immediately makes this painting appealing to a wide range of collectors. The painting was drawn by artist L. McGill, but it is a copy of the work of another painter called Walter Hunt, who was known to have a fascination for drawing beautiful barnyard scenery.
And he's known for this very soft focus, and very fuzzy things, and all the different textures. And you see that here in this painting. You see these calves, and you almost want to come up and touch that fur that they have on them.
This painting is well drawn and detailed to represent different animals. The painting was made in 1915 and is an oil on canvas. This is a beautiful painting and scenery, and at auction, it would retail at...
I would think it's probably worth about $8,000 to $12,000 at auction.
Wow. Guest brought a cabinet he inherited from a good friend, but had no knowledge of its origin or history. The furniture piece was identified to be from England and dated back to around 1810. The decoration on the piece was called decoupage, made from tiny bits of cut paper. The paper was inked and applied to the wood, which was grain painted to resemble rosewood. The underside of the drawer revealed a swirly red and black decoration. The woods used in the piece were pine and beech, typical for small objects in England at the time. It was likely used as a small jewel cabinet in a lady's bedroom. Due to its artistic merit and market value, the appraiser valued it at...
Probably at auction, you'd be looking anywhere from about $1,500 to $2,500. So.
Okay. All right. Wonderful.
This guest acquired these bottles from the wall of a barn conversion.
I did a barn conversion some years ago, and there was a crack in the wall, so I had to put a bit of concrete underneath, and when I dug under the barn, so these popped out.
Dating back to the 18th century, the first bottle originates from Northern Europe, probably Germany. It features a pontil mark on the base and displays a lovely iridescence. The second bottle is an English mallet-shaped bottle, bearing the hallmark of its maker, AB. Both bottles were likely used for preserving wine in the 18th century. Still in very good condition, these 200-year-old bottles are worth...
So what we have is over 1,000.
These antique glass paperweights were made by the New England Glass Company and Bronston and Sandwich Company in America. This first set of paperweights was made by the New England Glass Company in the 1850s to 1880s and were called scrambled weights as they were made with scrap. The second set of paperweights was made by Bronson and Sandwich Company in the 1870s or 1880s. These paperweights are different from the first paperweight because of the Nicholas slate walls and rose center, which is French. Also, the value of these paperweights differ. While paperweights from New England sold for $200 to $300, that of Bronson and Sandwich sold for $1,500. There is another set that is different from the other sets in design. One was made in New Jersey with a crippling tool from 1905 to 1915 by Ralph Barber for family and friends. The last one was made by Emma Larson in 1940 for commercial purposes. In a retail shop, the Emma Larson paperweights would sell for $3,500 to $4,000, while the Ralph Barber paperweights considered the best would sell for...
in a retail shop between $4,000 and $5,000.
Wow. Well, this is really interesting. Thank you for sharing the history of these American glass paperweights.
You're very welcome, Mark.
Today, we will be discussing with one of the Roadshow appraisers a collection of jewelry known as mourning jewelry. These pieces were worn by Queen Victoria during her mourning of Prince Albert and were used in various phases of the mourning process. The first piece displayed is crafted from low-carat gold and features black enamel pearls. At auction, this piece is estimated to be worth...
Factor in the necklace, you have to figure $2,000 to $3,000.
Next, we have a black pendant and necklace. The pendant is adorned with yellow gold, black enamel, and pearls, and it dates back to 1875. We can expect this piece to command an auction value of...
A piece like this today at auction would be $800 to $1,200.
Lastly, we have faceted amethyst stone with a purple hue and little pearls around its egg. This piece of jewelry would have a value of...
A piece like this today at auction would be $1,000 to $1,500.
This normal-looking table was the cream of the crop during the Regency period in Britain.
This type of table would have been made in the Regency period in England, which is around about 1800 to 1820. Yours is moving a little later than that, more towards 1820, 30, closer to the next time period, which is called William IV.
The table is made from rosewood, and we can confirm this thanks to the black marks on it. It was made in 1820 at a time when tables like these were highly demanded by the rich. The table is quite special in that it tilts, and it also has special engravings to beautify the surface. For a table crafted in 1820, it has a fine finish which has ensured its top quality. This furniture is a great representation of luxury from the 1800s, and if it were to be auctioned today, it would fetch a suitable estimate of...
At auction, you would expect it to sell between about $800 and $1,200.
These charming folk art paintings by Grace MacArthur, a local Michigan artist. They belong to the guest's mom, who even took her to Grace's studio as a child.
So this picture was my mother's that I received. These are the 4 seasons. These were my mother's.
Look closely. One painting even features a tiny bride and groom, a wedding gift from Grace herself. Appraiser loves these paintings. These capture a simpler time painted with love. Just like Grandma Moses, Grace painted scenes from everyday life filled with rich details. This wedding gift was likely painted around 1974, the year the guest got married.
Yes. And then the ones belonged to your mother could have been before or after that?
I think they were before.
Okay.
Regional art like this is treasured by people who connect with the scenes. Together, these paintings could be worth...
These together, probably for retail purposes, would be about $2,000.
Wow, that's neat.
Jess brought a painting that her grandmother purchased at a yard sale in the 1960s or 1970s for $35, recognizing it as a William Aiken Walker piece. The grandmother felt guilty for buying it so cheaply and left it to the guest when she passed away. William Aiken Walker was a self-taught artist from Charleston who was born in 1838 and died in 1921. Walker was wounded in the Civil War and later settled in Baltimore, where he did most of his work. The painting was dated to between 1870 and 1890, and it was an oil on board. The painting's subject was a woman with a big smile, and Walker's work often depicted emancipated slaves and reflected a significant period in American politics. The appraiser suggested that the painting could benefit from a cleaning and noted that the varnish had yellowed. Acknowledging its beauty, history, and rarity, the appraiser estimated the painting's value at
an auction range of somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000.
Really? But it's so little. I mean...
A treasured family heirloom for about 150 years is a significant piece of history. Quite fascinating, this piece belonged to Lewis Ellsworth, who was the first IRS agent for the District of Illinois, appointed during the reign of Abraham Lincoln. The document, signed by Lincoln himself and by Salmon P. Chase, then Secretary of the Treasury, dates back to the Civil War era.
When I read this text, I was a little bit surprised to see that it was for a collector for Internal Revenue.
Interestingly, this appointment document is a bit of a historical surprise. Many assume the income tax began in 1913 with the 16th Amendment, but in fact, the first income tax was enacted in 1862 to fund the Civil War. It lasted for about 10 years before being repealed due to its unpopularity. Despite its historical significance, documents like this tend to sell for less than other Lincoln-signed documents. While a typical Lincoln military commission might be worth more, this IRS appointment is valued at...
A traditional Lincoln document, a military commission, let's say, might sell today for $5,000 to $7,000. These sell for more in the range of $3,500 to $4,500. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, though, for bringing it in.
Thank you. Here is a fly whisk bought from Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo for appraisal. The carving, the face, and the body are beautifully modeled. Then, looking at the handle and hair whisk, everything looks superb. But it is from the Congo tribe and is a symbol of great power and authority. However, looking at the surface with the patination, it is clear that this piece is a reproduction and not the original fly whisk. Even as a reproduction, it is still worth around $300 to $500. But if it was authentic in the African arts market in Paris, it would be worth...
This kind of piece would be worth north of $50,000.
If it were authentic.
If it were authentic.
Next stop, Paris.
What we have here is a Confederate cavalry officer's sword made by William J. McElroy in Macon, Georgia.
He was in business before the war, selling various things. During the war, he saw an opportunity to make money.
The sword has been passed down through generations, with the guest remembering it from his grandfather's den. Its intricate etching and floral patterns indicate its officer status and high craftsmanship.
Right. And the etching is what sets McElroy off from all the other makers.
Okay.
Most of the time, they're real light and faint. You have to turn it in the light to be able to see it. This one, it goes boom.
As opposed to an enlisted man's sword version, which is just smooth all over. The handle of the sword has a wooden core with high-quality leather over the top of it. The matching scabbard and blade etchings add to its rarity and uniqueness. Given its excellent condition and complete set, the sword is appraised at...
I would insure this sword for $50,000.
Oh, my Lord. I'm speechless.
Without the scabbard, the value would be around...
Would be around 20.
Oh, okay.
The scabbard is the rare part.
I'm just shocked right now. I don't know what else to say.